Juneteenth means freedom. It's a freedom celebration. It's a freedom holiday. Juneteenth is one of many freedom days on the calendar. So Juneteenth, what we've come to know as Juneteenth, is just another freedom day. But it has the distinction of becoming a national freedom day for African Americans. So the experience of people on June 19th, 1865, as they listened to Major Granger read this order, saying that they were free. So oftentimes we think of freedom as these grandiose acts, but freedom for black folks during this time meant that, let's see if I can just travel short distances to see if somebody's going to say something. But certainly it meant also trying to locate my loved ones and trying to reconstitute my family, people who may have been on a neighboring plantation or in a neighboring state. So for many black people during that time, for the first few months, it was about just doing basic, ordinary things. But oftentimes for African Americans, especially when the announcement was made in Galveston, it was about just enjoying life as newly emancipated people and finally getting that word that they were free. One of the early interesting things about Juneteenth is that people dressed up. And dressing up was important because it represented the end of slavery. There were black folks who wanted to discard all former vestiges of slavery, even the clothing that they were forced to wear. So dressing up and donning oneself in clothes kind of accompanied this newfound identity. A lot of blacks renamed themselves. But typically now you'll see Juneteenth phase infused in with modern day issues. So if you went to a Juneteenth this June coming up in 2021, you're going to hear a lot about racial injustice and social injustice as it relates to things going on today. Juneteenth will be part of that conversation, or Juneteenth will open up a space to have the conversation about what it means to be black in America today. For me, Juneteenth meant that we get to, every year, celebrate African American history in so many different ways. Juneteenth means that we can perennialize the struggle for social justice and racial justice, that we can return back to that day the following year and have a conversation about black people and where they are in U.S. history. But you will have the things that people typically do. Those never go away. We're going to eat, we're going to be festive, we're going to celebrate, we're going to talk about the meaning of the holiday, but we also need to talk about what does it mean to be a person of color today in the United States, and what is that community dealing with today. So commemorations are, in many ways, an ode to the past, taking stock of the present and trying to determine where we're going in the future. And I think that if there's anything that students and staff and faculty and administrators can know about Juneteenth or any other holiday is that you have to seize those moments that have been provided to us on the calendar, but also to talk about where we are as students, as staff, as faculty, where are we as an institution when it comes to this particular community that is here on this campus. What does Juneteenth mean to black people on this campus, and what it means to the University of Minnesota. The University of Minnesota should ask that question of themselves.